once was a boy who never truly felt like he belonged. He was mistreated and lived in a cupboard under the stairs, until one day a large stranger told him he was a wizard, and he explained the lightning-shaped scar he got as a baby after narrowly avoiding death.
And as you can see, I am not dead, T'Challa shouted as he approached his estranged cousin, ready to reclaim the throne. Although his adversary would not yield, those loyal to him fought back valiantly, inspired by
1.21 gigawatts of electricity racing through the flux capacitor, giving the DeLorean enough power to make it back to 1985. Marty smiled. He was headed home after what could only be described as...
After what could only be described as some sort of dream, she finally realized she could find everything her heart desired in her own backyard. She clicked her heels together 3 times and said,
"If you build it, they will come, Ray. The one constant through all the years has been baseball. This field, this game, it's part of our past. It reminds us of all that was once good and it could be again." And then Ray looked up and saw the young baseball player waiting on the field was actually his father.
It was actually his father, the villain who had taken his hand with a lightsaber and then tried to woo him with promises of shared dominion over the galaxy, stood before him and revealed his true identity. He stood there stunned as the music swelled to close out the shocking, powerful scene.
Well, welcome. Hey, if you're online tuning in, checking us out, thanks for doing that. Thanks for showing up here in Chelan. We're in week 4 of The Power of a Made-Up Story, and it's a little hypocritical because most of you know that I don't enjoy a made-up story, right? I got a rule, I think we've said every week I've been up here. When it comes to books and movies, if it ain't true, it's crap-a-roo. Thank you. If you learned anything today, maybe you're visiting, go back to your church and share that with them. I don't, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, I don't even know what that is. I fell asleep in Indiana Jones when I saw it when I was in high school. That's not real. But listen, I need you to know that at age 62 and 3/4, I am still growing as a person. I saw 2 movies when I was gone, both made up stories. I watched, and they were back-to-back movies about talking animals. I saw Sheep Detective. Anyone? Oh, it's awesome. It is so good. Let me tell you, I'm going to ruin it for you. What happens is, no, listen, you got talking sheep, and they solve a crime. I'm like, this is a stupid, if this ain't true, it's crap-a-roo. It is so awesome. Like, I didn't know. Maybe some fiction out there is very enjoyable. And then the other one I just saw last night with the lovely Darlene, because it was pizza movie night last night. We watched Remarkably Bright Creatures. Calm down. It's just an octopus. It's a talking octopus. And like, where is my life gone that I'm sitting home on a Saturday night watching an octopus in a movie? I cried through the whole thing. It is so good. So if you think, oh, Kyle, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Listen, I think it started, here's where my distrust of fictional things started. Most of you know, I grew up, went to grade school, middle school here in Chelan, went to Mo. I lived just, where am I? I lived just a couple blocks over on Wapato. Grew up there, that was my paper route. And man, back then, if you're 60s, 70s, come on, Saturday mornings was king. We just had the 3 channels plus PBS, and no one watched PBS, and so Saturday morning, all the cartoons were on. And so somewhere along the line, they said, if we're going to let kids watch Bugs Bunny and the Jetsons and Scooby-Doo, we got to sneak in education stuff with them. Who's with me? That's why we had like Schoolhouse Rock. Who's with me? Conjunction, junction, what's your function? I'm just a bill, yes. Just give me a whoop, whoop. Yeah. If you're too young and you don't know that, man, that's why your life is off track, because you didn't grow up with Schoolhouse Rock, all right? But then they would also sneak in like, here's stuff you need to know. But they would put it in a kid form so that you would pay attention. But even at 8, 9 years old, I'm like, no, you're just tricking me. Like, let me give you a couple of, like all of a sudden, they have these slogans and they try to get you with, like, stop, look, and listen. All right? All they're saying is, look both ways before you cross the street. Or, if you've been around me enough, answer this question. What time is train time? Any time is train time. Wow, you guys. That's why I have access. Anytime. The train can be coming at any time. So you got to stop, look, and listen. How about this one? If you grew up in the 70s. Give a hoot, don't pollute. What's the name of that owl? Woodsy. Yeah. And like, you're watching your cartoon and like, Woodsy. I don't care. I don't want to pollute. Although in the 70s, we didn't know about pollution because we just threw our trash out the window. But Woodsy did his job, right? We're much more aware of our environment than we were in the 70s, trust me, all right? How about this guy? Take a bite out of crime. What's his name? That's McGruff the crime dog, all right? And I'm sitting there eating my Fruit Loops, and I'm like, yeah, McGruff, I'm with you, brother. I'm looking around my neighborhood for crime. How about this guy? Only you can prevent forest fires. Who's that guy? If you said Smokey the Bear, sorry, you're wrong. His name is Smokey Bear. Look it up. Now, here's the thing. I felt so bad because only I can prevent forest fires. I'm like 9 years old. I'm like, Smokey, I'm not doing my job at all. If only me can prevent them, we're in big trouble. I don't even have a shovel or a hose or anything, all right? This is dumb. Be cool, stay in school. Well, like, you don't have a choice when you're a fourth grader, right? Like, Mom, I ain't going to school today, all right? Or this is really dug down and thought education was great. This guy. I pity a fool who don't go to school, all right? For you young, that's the A team. That's Mr. T, if you're wondering. But now this one. This one, every time they talked about it, and we would cover it at school, at Mo, and would come on in between cartoons, and it was like so scary. But it was like, if you're ever in a fire, what are you supposed to do? Stop, drop, and roll. I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, how am I going to catch on fire? Right? And like, okay, I'm on fire. What did the cartoon say? I'm going to scream, run, and look for water, right? I mean, so you're supposed to stay calm, right? Just stop what you're doing, drop down to the floor, and start rolling. Now, I don't want to make light of that because maybe some of you have used that and you've saved your life for somebody else. Anyone? No, because it's really crazy, all right? It's crazy that they try to sneak educational stuff in on the cartoons, and I saw right through it. I've never, ever, I've lived a sheltered life. I've never stopped, drop, and roll. I've never, I did learn how not to pollute, but I never stopped a forest fire. I've always gone to school. I've gone to too much school. All right? So there's all these slogans that the 70s especially try to give kids advice. Much like the power of a made-up story. Like Jesus comes along and he wants to talk and deliver truth. And he does it in a way that's so different than we would expect from a religious person, let's say. Because we know, you know, that stories are powerful even when they're made up. Many of you enjoy a good fictional book. Many of you go from one right to another. Many of you enjoy all the great mysteries and fictional fantasies of the movie world. That there's power, even when the story's not true, there's power in it. Like those kind of stories, they inform us and they influence and they inspire. They can actually, a made-up story can actually change your perspective on life. So Jesus comes along, 30% of his teaching is telling a story or a parable. Like 30% of the time. He doesn't just stand up there with a pulpit reading the Old Testament and trying to teach you how to live it. He decided, like many other rabbis of his time, that rabbis would talk about God through illustrations in order to reach people's heart and their imagination, not just deliver truth. Because we, on Sunday morning people, can stand on a stage with a microphone and spit out a lot of facts. But if you don't receive them and they hit your heart and then change your attitudes and actions, it's a waste of time. Jesus knew that. That process that other rabbis used that Jesus took advantage of was called Haggadah. That was the Greek word that described what he did. And basically, that word means to tell a story with a point. Like, I'm not just entertaining you. I'm going to tell you a story, and this is going to do something. And most of the stories, this one especially, that we're going to talk about today, Jesus' stories cause disruption. Like we use this phrase within Christianity a lot, is like, it's our job as pastors to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. No problem at all with that. In fact, a lot of times he would tell a story, everyone in the crowd would be upset, and he would just drop his mic and walk away. He wouldn't even explain it. So, every story, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Pastor Megan did a great job last week. Every story that Jesus tells has one similar component, and that is you are one of the characters. Like the people listening at the time, but now every time you read or we retell the parables, the made-up stories of Jesus, you are one of the characters. I would like to challenge you this morning in the next few minutes. As we look at this story, which character are you? Even more than that, which character are you and which character would you like to be? Because it maybe won't be the same. There's also, in every single parable, almost always, there's also a you character and there's a God character. Like Jesus says, I want to tell you and explain to you what God, my Father, is like. There once was a man with 2 sons, and then he just goes into it. So, little setup before we get to the story. Most of you arrived here by invite. Like here on this Sunday morning, probably somebody invited you. Or if you've been coming to this church or you attend another church, somebody along the way probably invited you. Now, in our modern day, probably some of you got online and saw our website or something. But we've been going for about 13 years. And most of us, someone said, hey, why don't you come to my church? And if you're a regular real lifer, you say, hey, why don't you come to my church? And the person responds and says, that's not for me. I don't like organized religion. And you say, perfect. Real life's the most disorganized church I've ever been to. I don't really care for religion. And neither does our pastor. He's not big on that either. But all of us, and maybe it's not church, maybe someone along the way, I guarantee you, invited you to check out Jesus or the truth or the sacrifice or the love of Jesus. We all arrived by invite. At Real Life, we've been using this phrase for 13 years, and we call that invest and invite. That you invest in relationships with people in order to invite them to church, to a relationship with Jesus. But it's important. It's not some big project. It's not some phony, made-up campaign. It's just real life. Now, we didn't come up with that idea. Jesus did. The first disciples did. The first followers of Jesus did. What we call invest and invite, the New Testament calls come and see. Like Jesus would just walk up to guys and say, hey, follow me. Like, hey, where are we going? Just come on. Just come on. Watch what happens. See, there's truth that you need to know about Jesus, for sure. But as important, or maybe slightly more important, the goal was not to explain something, but to experience someone. Like a lot of us think we got to understand all the truth. We got to understand where Adam and Eve came from and what was the flood like and what was that ark stuff and Abraham and Isaac. That's a disturbing story. And we get lost in that. We're like, wait. And so we try to get all the facts and have them make sense to our brain. And really, if we step back, Jesus was always saying, come on, just follow me and watch what happens. I love that the 3 years that Jesus had followers and the disciples hung out with him. Like in year 2, something will happen. And one of the writers will say, and they began to follow. All right? And then a few months later, and then they believed. I thought, wait a minute. They don't believe him when they were following? No. They just started following, and then all of a sudden, made perfect sense. So, that's how it started. That everyone was come and see. The message of Jesus spread throughout the first century and the second century and the third century. And it didn't take long till all the Christians decided, oh man, it's dangerous out here in the come and see world. There's a bunch of people that live and act differently than us. This isn't like our home group. I'm not comfortable. And so all the Christians started hiding and huddling. And not only that, then we decided that we would have our own brand of hiding and huddling, right? We weren't just gathered as a church. We were gathered as the Baptist church. Have you ever been to a town where there's a First Baptist church and a Second Baptist church? What? You know, what was the problem there? You got a Methodist church and you got a Free Methodist church, right? The Lutherans have all kinds of, it wasn't enough just to pull ourselves in and get away from all the other people who don't understand Jesus. We had to do it particularly for our make, model, attitude, posture, and tone. So if come and see is the invite, go and be is the action. That you were never, if you're a follower of Jesus, and there's something for everybody here this morning, you were never meant to just hang around with other people who think and act and believe just like you. And that's what the story's about today. Who are you in the story? This story about being moved to compassion. That some way your eyes are open. And almost all of you, I would bet, have heard this story or heard some phrases in this story. And some of you didn't even know that it was from the Bible and Jesus said it. The setup is Jesus is hanging out. A bunch of people followed him. A bunch of people that didn't like him and didn't believe in him also were always in the crowd. They're always looking to mess with him. One day, an expert in the religious law, probably a Levite or a priest, stood up to test Jesus. He didn't really have a question. He wants to mess with Jesus. By asking him this question, he says, Teacher, Jesus, what should I do to inherit eternal life? It's a question everybody asks us sometime. How do I get to heaven? The guy already had his answer. He just messing with Jesus. Jesus replied, well, what does the law of Moses say? How do you read it? You're an expert. You know what the Old Testament says. What's your take on this? The guy proudly says, well, you must love the Lord, your God, with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind. He quoted Deuteronomy from the Old Testament. And he follows up, he adds it on, and love your neighbor as yourself. He quoted Leviticus. He's like, that's my take. And Jesus is like, great, you've answered correctly. Now, do this and you'll live. Next question. Wait. The guy wasn't done. The question wasn't sincere. This guy wasn't moved to compassion or cared about his neighbor or wanted a direct answer from Jesus. This guy was moved to gracism. Now, this word is out there all over the place. This is what I mean when I talk about gracism. It is not a positive thing. Gracism is when you think, I deserve to be with Jesus, but you don't. The way I think, the way I believe, the way I study, the way I gather puts me in a better place than you. And I deserve it, you don't. And it's not like about the color of your skin, it's about the color of your sin. And we have established somewhere in our heart and mind who is in and who is out. And this guy knew who he wanted in and who he wanted out. And just a side note. Anybody who has to ask, who's my neighbor? That's a bad neighbor. Because you know who your neighbor is. So did he. So Jesus didn't stop and explain it at all. When the guy says, who's my neighbor? Jesus doesn't say, hey, wait a minute, it's a false. He just says, and a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Just starts in the story. When he was attacked by robbers. Everybody leaned in because they understood what Jesus was saying. Jerusalem to Jericho was 17 miles long. Most people worked in the temple or hung out in Jerusalem, but they lived in Jericho. Jericho was a bedroom community of Jerusalem. They lived in Jericho. A part of that journey of the 17 miles, there was called this area called the Way of Blood. All right? That was like, in our day and age, there'd be no street lights. All right? It'd be dark. The ruffians lived there or hung out there. So when he starts a story and says, this guy was going down from Jericho, from Jerusalem to Jericho, they all knew exactly what happened. Can you go back to the verse, Marcia? I messed up. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. The guy is in a bad way, and he can't help himself. Jesus continues with the story. A priest happened to be going down. Like, if this guy that had just been beaten up and left for dead, he's got like one eye open, maybe that's all he's got. He's like, I'm rescued. And in the crowd, when Jesus starts telling the story, he's like, and a priest. And like a couple of them were like, hey, that's you. Bam. You're in the story. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed and went on the other side. If you're a priest in the crowd, you're like, I'm going to get this guy. He's putting me down. Now, maybe people in the crowd, and maybe you would too, thought, the priest. Well, he's busy, right? I mean, he just served his 7 days or whatever in the temple. He's going on a break. He's probably got people to see, weddings to do, funerals to perform. He's a holy man of God. He doesn't have time to stop and help someone who's all messed up. So the priest decided to not get involved. He didn't hate the guy, didn't wish evil on him. He just like, no, I'm probably just too busy. A bad neighbor, we're defining it. A bad neighbor is the one who has to go out of his way to avoid doing the right thing. And I say all the time, I get inklings or directions from the Lord like, hey, you should call that person and encourage them. Or you should call that person up and have coffee with them. Or go over and tell them. I get that all the time. And you know what? 50% of the time I do it. You're like, what? Yeah, I'm like, not today, God. I'm important. I'm pretty busy. I got to get my mic on just right. Listen, a lot of us don't need more information. Let me start over. I don't need more information. I need transformation. I need a willingness to do the right thing always. I don't need to be told anymore what the right thing is. I know. Jesus keeps going. So to a Levite, hey, that's you. A Levite and priest. The priest was the head of the temple. The Levite was like the assistant pastor, let's call him. Maybe he's the youth pastor, the worship pastor. He would take care of all the ceremonial stuff. He'd keep all the temple worshipers clean. Like they had to go through all these rituals in order to be right with God and to practice in the temple. And that was the Levite's job. So to a Levite, when he came to the place, he saw the guy almost dead, laying there, maybe grunting or calling out for help. He passed by on the other side. Like he's walking like, oh no, and then goes on the other side. The Levite. This guy was super important within the religious community. But he decided, even maybe if he had time, he decided not to get dirty. Because what if I get involved with this guy? What if he dies on me? Now I touched a dead guy. I won't be able to do my duties in the temple because that's the rules. Then I can't help other people. So really, by me avoiding helping this guy, I'm helping the whole community get closer to God. And he rationalized his way to being a bad neighbor. Who is my neighbor? The person you literally have to walk out of your way to avoid. Who's your neighbor? The person who voted the exact opposite of you. Who's your neighbor? The persons whose morality and standards are the exact opposite of you. Who's your neighbor? The person that irritates you so much that if you could avoid them, you could, but they're in your family, so you have to spend Thanksgiving with them. the Levite and the priest, the religious leaders of the community, saw the man. Jesus says they both noticed him, but they had no lens of compassion. When they looked at him, they thought, that's a distraction. That's not going to go well. That's going to ruin my reputation. I'm going this way. Then Jesus blows up the crowd with the story. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw the man who was bruised, broken, and beaten, and almost dead, he saw him and he had compassion. If you've been around church, you know that the Samaritans are the walking evil in Judaism. The Samaritans were kind of these half-breed people, so they were hated by the Jews culturally, they were hated by them religiously. You couldn't have picked a worse person to be the hero at all. This was a slap in the face of all the gracists in the crowd. All the Jews, all the temple worshipers that thought, we're better than everybody. We're just trying to be better than each other. For sure, we're better than the Samaritans. Here's what the gracism scale would look like. What's your scale? Like, number one, on the grace, like the number one person to get to go to heaven, for sure, Pharisees. They're the leaders, they're in. Second, teachers of the law. Who would you put on there? Billy Graham? Mother Teresa? I would. Hey, did we jump? Number three, doctors and nurses. Yeah, they're good people. They should be on there. Fishermen. They're not Samaritans, and they don't always get to church the way they're supposed to in the temple, and sometimes they don't come clean. Fishermen. But for sure, fishermen. Next, if we have to list them, prostitutes. They're there. We hope they don't show up to temple, but if we're going to make a list. Next on the list, tax collectors. Oh, man, the Jews hated tax collectors because they were Jewish people that worked for the Roman government. They hated. So they're on the bottom of the list. But then far next, seventh place, Samaritans. I don't know who you would put there. We think this is about a rivalry. Like if you're a Husky, you would put Cougs on the bottom. Right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about ultimate hatred. Like how white people in the South in the 1950s felt about black people. We're talking about how super religious fundamentalists feel about trans people. We're talking about the standard that you were raised in and the enemy you were taught to hate. The Samaritan, last on the list, decided to show compassion. Compassion is to hurt so much that you are moved to action. That a lot of us see stuff and we feel it and we do nothing. But the Samaritan, compassion moved him to action. So at some point, if you're a follower of Jesus, again, there's something for everybody here, hold on. Our compassion must be greater than our comfort. It's so hard. Especially where we live. We live in a great country. We live in a pretty great state. Whatever you think about the state, okay. But we live in a great community of Chelan and Manson, Aniat, Brewster. Who else wants to be involved? Pateras? Arando? That's it. Yeah, so when I talk to people and I say, hey, brother, you need to know Jesus. Why is that? Well, because Jesus makes your life better and you better at life. And they're like, well, I got a good life. Like, yeah, but Jesus, you have a sin problem, you're separated from God. And you're like, yeah, I never think about that. My life's pretty good. So if you're enjoying your life, and as a believer, you're like, hey, I'm good. I'm good with God. I'm good. I live in a good community. I got good friends. I got a good church. I got it. But at some point, your comfort that you live in, the compassion for other people and their lostness in society needs to be greater than your comfort. So Samaritan, he went to him and he bandaged him, his wounds, pouring oil and wine, just used the stuff he had on him, and set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The Samaritan rides up on his donkey, looks down there and says, oh man, this guy's, puts him on his donkey, takes him to an inn, a hotel, a hostel of some kind. On the next day, when he left, he took out 2 denarii, gave it to the innkeeper and said to him, take care of him, whatever more you spend, when I come, I'll repay you. Like, I got things to do. This can't be my whole life. I'm going to take care of this guy. I'll come back and check on you later. Giving, serving, being compassionate toward people, sometimes is a long-term commitment. But it's not your entire life. He carries on. So Jesus returns to the crowd. He's telling the story. And then he looks probably directly at all the priests and Levites. And he says, so which of these three, brother, who asked the question, which of these three do you think was the neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And the priest, the Levite says, he who showed mercy on him. Won't even say Samaritan. Then Jesus said to him, go, do the same. Go, do likewise. Go and be. Get out of the temple. Get out of your little box. Get going. Jesus is better than you think he is. He's greater than you think he is. He's worth. Step out in your fear. Step out and watch what Jesus does. The whole point of the story is being moved to action. And at the risk of being too simplistic, I want to make it really simple so you walk out here and like, man, I didn't understand a thing that guy said, but I got the last part. Because all of us live and learn like grade school kids watching TV on Saturday morning. Stop, drop, and roll. Like, if you want to stop, drop, and roll, you got to first recognize there's a problem. Your hair's on fire. You got to recognize that there's something going on in order to put anything into action. And some of us are so blessed by our church, in our small group, in our connection with Jesus, that we have no idea that people are on fire around us. Move to action. Number one, stop. Stop. Pause. You are too busy. You're too busy to notice. It doesn't make you evil. It makes you busy. Some of you have to have a conversation with your spouse and just say, hey, are we walking on the other side of people? Are we walking away from people? Are we recognizing people's needs? Are we afraid of people who think and live the opposite of us? Drop. Got to get off your donkey. You can insert whatever word there you want. You got to get up and off your donkey. You got to get off of the thing that you're using to get through life that keeps you protected and away from other people. This guy pulls up. He could have looked down and said, here's some oil and water, here's some bandages, and just kept going. But he got off of the donkey. He stooped down next to him. He bandaged him up personally. What the? Pastor Megan broke this last week. Stop, drop. What's the last one? Roll. Let's get going. Listen, if you're visiting from somewhere else and you have a church somewhere else, great. Great. I hope it's a great church. I hope they love Jesus, they celebrate Jesus, and they're committed to sharing Jesus with anybody and everybody in the community. That they don't wait for people to show up to your church, that they're out in the community trying to expose people to the love of Jesus. I hope that's the church you're from. If you live here, if you're part of what we do, if you're just showing up for the first time here, let me be really clear. We've been a church for about 13 years. And every few years, we get really comfortable about who we are and what we are. Like, hey, we got a great staff of people. We really do. They're the best. Plenty of people come. We got a good youth group. Our children's ministry is fantastic. And we kind of gear down and settle into who we are and what we're doing. It's not the call of Jesus. Jesus said he came to seek and save the lost, so that's what we do as Real Life. As Real Life, we're about come and see. We don't plan and prepare and program on Sunday mornings just for church people. In fact, it's just the opposite. We're planning and preparing and programming for people who are far from God. Because that's the call of Jesus. And we need to get rolling. And every couple of years, we need to get rolling. You need to get rolling. If you're a follower of Jesus and you love Jesus, let's go. If you're part of a small group, and you should be, it's life. You all need to get going. Let's roll. There's people who don't know Jesus, who live in our community, and something is keeping you from interacting and showing compassion and interest to them. And whatever that is, it's wrong. Sorry to be so harsh. But if you stop and slow down, if you decide to take time and get off of whatever is keeping you from noticing, and then start an action that invests in relationship with people, not as a project. You're not going to go to your neighbor later this afternoon and say, my pastor said I'm supposed to reach out to you because you're bad and I'm good. Let me give you a couple next steps because we're out of time. Let me give you 3 next steps. You know what? You can ignore the next steps if you just want to remember stop, drop, and roll. If your brain's like too full, just stop, drop, and roll. All right? Let me give you a little bit more detail. First next step. Start to bless those around you. There's blue cards that we hand out. We'd love information. If this is your first time here, please fill that out. And we're not going to stop by your house or do anything weird. We just want to get to know you a little bit. But the next steps are on the blue card too, so you can take advantage of them. We want to know what's going on in your life as well. Really quickly, when you bless people, and this seems really simplistic, maybe too Christian-y, I think it's really powerful though. As I thought about trying to do it myself, okay? Blessed, let me give you, spell that out. Begin with prayer. Just sit down this afternoon and say, God, who? Who's my neighbor that I need to show some compassion and interest in? 2, listen. When you're with them, shut up and listen. Hear their story. Pastor Graham shared this with me a few months ago. Is we look at people and like, what's wrong with those people? Instead, the better question is, what happened to those people? Listen to their story. Don't try to twist their arm, religiously or politically. Just listen. 3rd, eat. Like, spend some time with them. Sit down. When Jesus sat down with the sinners and tax collectors and had a meal, all the priests and Levites were so upset at him because that showed relationship. 4, serve. Where could you invest, individually or as a group? It's one of our things in our small groups as well, right? Where could you invest where you're benefiting other people and you're getting nothing in return? That's a good neighbor. The Roman Emperor Hadrian, in the 1st century, he's not a follower of Jesus. He didn't believe in Jesus. This is the 1st century. This is like 120 or so. This is just right after the time of Jesus on earth. This is what his quote, not a follower of Jesus. He said, referring to Christians, see how they love one another. They never fail to help the widows. They save orphans from those who would hurt them. If they have something to give freely, they give freely to those who have nothing. If they see a stranger, they take him home as though he were a brother. This was someone standing at a distance saying, what's with those people? Jesus turned to his disciples before he left this earth and he said, listen, people are going to know who I am by the way you love each other and by the way you love the rest of the world. Finally, story. Find out their story, their background. I guarantee you, if they're not in church, they have a story about church hurt. When they were a kid, someone treated their parents. Something happened. Someone called themselves a Christian, treated them poorly. 2 more next steps. I want to spend a lot more time on this. You'll get the idea. Next step number 2. Don't be weird. If you're a Christian, stop it. Don't be weird. Don't tell your weird Jesus story. When you were a kid watching cartoons, your mac and cheese turned into a picture of the Virgin Mary, and that's how you started going to Sunday school. Don't tell that story. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Just don't tell it. All right? I know. I'm not arguing with your story. I'm not. Just don't lead with your weird story, all right? Don't be weird. Just be you. I get in trouble all the time. I'm just me. Pretty much who I am here is who I am in the office and who I am when I hang with my friends. Yes, There's a number of times where people say, you're a pastor? Yeah, I'm not trying to be evil or rude or bad. I'm just trying to be me. If you want to be a neighbor, just be you. Now, if you're a jerk, stop being you. Right? If you're the neighbor, complain about everything. If you're running your one-man homeowner association, finally, if you're here like, this is a lot of Christian stuff, and Kyle, man, you're really going after the Christians. Okay, this is for you. If you're new to faith, you're new to church, if you've never understood the love of God that came through Jesus, then today, this is your day to realize that God sees you. Who are you in the story? Some of us were, and some of us are, the person lying on the side of the road, beaten, bruised, and damaged. Maybe we weren't beat up physically, but life has taken its toll. We were hurt. We've gone through stuff. God sees you. God sees you in your condition that keeps you far from God. God sees you in that condition, and he sends Jesus. Jesus gets off his donkey. He kneels down. He manages your wounds. He picks you up. He places you in a safe place, and he says, listen, take care of him until I get back, and I'm coming back. Who are you in the story? If you're here and you feel far from God, if you've never understood that God loves you and sent Jesus purposely to give his life and make your distance of sin correct, that gap that between you and God that you can't manage, that you can't fill, that you can't be good enough for, Jesus took care of that. I can't imagine that the beaten and bruised guy, when the Samaritan got off his donkey and said, come on, I'm going to help you, he said, no, you're not helping me. I'm not taking help from a Samaritan. I got this. He can't walk, he can't barely see. I'll be fine. All right. And that's okay. And please keep coming, just keep showing up, come and see and watch what happens. But Jesus says, here's the offer. And it's for this life and the one to come. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you for your love for us. Thank you that you demonstrate that. Man, there's a lot of truth in one little made-up story. And I ask that you would move us to the place that we allow that to get to our head and to our heart, and that makes a difference in the way we live. Thank you for loving us, forgiving us, sacrificing for us, even though we didn't deserve any of it. But you loved us anyway. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thanks so much for being here this morning. See ya. Love ya. Bye.